I've called them myths, and absolutely I think they are. That they are myths which are there to be busted. And that's my job. That's what I've written the book about. That's what I want people to understand so that we can go forward from this and start selling in an ethical way. So, good news is these are really solvable. We've got to recognize this. But when we do, and we start to make even little shifts, and remember the concept of aggregated marginal gains, or the kind of adding lots and lots of 1%ers together, means that we can get this effect. And part of the effect is that people will be a lot happier in what they do. And again, let's not sniff at that as something which is going to have a considerable impact in getting our results. You're listening to the Sales Today podcast, and I'm your host, Fred Copestake. On this podcast, we explore how sales professionals can develop a modern approach to winning business, the application of virtual selling techniques, how to create meaningful business relationships, and much more. Why not take our free collaborative selling scorecard to see how your sales approach suits today's environment? You'll find a link in the show notes. And welcome to this episode of Sales Today, where once again, I'm on my own. That's another solo. Not because I've run out of mates, but because I wanted to just go a little bit deeper into something I started to talk about on the last episode. So last episode, all about ethical selling. We talked about some of the benefits. But in this one, I want to go into some of the BS reasons that people might not undertake ethical selling. So I'm going to go into some detail on this. I think about the benefits of ethical sales. So this is all about incorporating ethical selling practices, benefiting not only the bottom line, but it also contributes to a more responsible and sustainable business environment. So essentially, it's an investment in long-term success. It's going to have a positive impact, and it is going to build a strong relationship with customers and the community. Now, look, I'd say already there are reasons for us to do that. However, we do have this Goldilocks dilemma. I spoke about this last time. So if you remember Goldilocks and the Three Bears, this is where Goldilocks went and tried the porridge, and it was too hot, too cold, and one was just right. And how this translates into ethical sales is that some people will think it's too hard to do. Some people think it's too soft, and then others will find it just right. So we're going to go into those details. The reasons I spoke about last time as to why we can blow all those concepts out of the water is because ethical sales gives us a win-win-win. And what I mean by that is that there's a win for the customer, there's a win for the company, but there's also a win for the individual salesperson's conscience. So that's what I spoke about in the last episode. Go and look at that if you want the high-level version. But I'm now going to go a little bit deeper into some of the myths that I do outline in the book, Ethical Selling, How to Win More Business by Doing the Right Thing. So we're going to start off with like the top 10 of myths, go through those, explain what they are, and then I'm going to bust them. I'm just going to call BS on them. I don't think they're right. And hopefully by the end of the episode, you'll realize that, yep, they are BS. So let's have a think of reasons people might not. So breaking down that too hard, too soft type thinking. So one of these is that there is a short-term focus. So this is all about sales leaders focused on getting immediate revenue. So the goals, the quotas. And so thinking about prioritizing closing deals quickly rather than building a long-term relationship. And that might be one of the reasons that people don't want to go down the ethical selling route. Another one could be the perceived impact on sales performance. So again, by this, it could mean that a sales leader would think about that this is emphasizing a slower sales process. So again, it might be missing opportunities. It could be lower sales numbers. We're not getting the amount of wins that we need to. A third reason not to could be resistance to change. Now, as humans, we're not brilliant at change, are we? But again, from a sales leader's point of view, we might be thinking about that this means more training, sort of mindset around how we're going to operate. Could there be more processes? And so it could be that we're thinking, well, maybe the team is going to push back. It's going to prove disruptive. Again, it's going to have an impact on our results. Another reason could be all about the pressure to meet targets. And we know that people are under more pressure today, perhaps more than ever before. And that's kind of making out that salespeople were never under pressure. Um, but people might think that because they're selling ethically, this might get in the way of hitting their goals, particularly when we're under tighter timelines and we've got to do stuff end of month, end of quarter. Another thing could be just a pure lack of understanding. Yeah, not really knowing what ethical selling is, not even kind of having an idea about benefits, or thinking that it's this kind of an abstract. It's a strange concept that doesn't really make sense. And those words might not appear to sit together. Could be a reason why people don't want to do this. We keep on going down our top 10. We're on number 6 now. This could be concerns about profitability. So again, it could be that people are thinking that if we're going to be transparent, if we're going to give fair pricing, if we're going to be more flexible in negotiation, maybe this could have an impact on our profit margin. It could affect the amount of money that we make. Again, this could be a barrier. It could be something which stops people wanting to get involved. There could be just a misconception. It could be that this too soft mentality, that it means that we're not going to be assertive. We're not going to use persuasive tactics. You might think that ethical selling is going to make us less effective in how we close deals. So it could be a complete misunderstanding of what it's all about. It could be that people have tried something like this before. So maybe ethical selling practices were considered and it didn't quite get the results that people expected. Maybe things weren't applied well. So someone could be skeptical about trying to do this based on what they've seen in the past. Another thing, so we're on number 9 now, could be that industry norms dictate that people feel as though they just can't use this way of selling in the industry they operate in. And they're going to deviate so much from the standard way of working and how people do stuff around here that it's going to put them at a disadvantage, competitive disadvantage. And the 10th on our list is that people might think that ethical selling is complex. There's a perceived complexity around it, that it's challenging to implement. Again, it needs a lot of training, there's a lot of resource allocation. We've got to get our heads around doing stuff that are going to be difficult to do, and it's going to hold us back. There's a top 10. I've tried to present them reasonably objectively, but there is probably a level of cynicism in my voice. Because I've called them myths, and absolutely I think they are. That they are myths which are there to be busted. And that's my job. That's what I've written the book about. That's what I want people to understand so that we can go forward from this and start selling in an ethical way. So, good news is these are really solvable. We've got to recognize this. But when we do, and we start to make even little shifts, and remember the concept of aggregated marginal gains, or the kind of adding lots and lots of 1%ers together, means that we can get this effect. And part of the effect is that people will be a lot happier in what they do. And again, let's not sniff at that as something which is going to have a considerable impact in getting our results. But let's go back through that top 10. Yeah, let's bust these one by one. So we start off with this short-term focus. Well, what I would say to this is that while it might seem that ethical selling is something that requires a lot of effort up front, actually it's more about a sustainable level of commitment so that we build results over long term. So by focusing on building trust, by focusing on understanding what the customer actually needs, we can create a foundation for repeat business. So we've got loyal customers based on them valuing the interactions they have with us. So actually, forget the short-term focus, look at the long-term benefits of doing things right and building that repeat business. Second thing we looked at was this perceived impact on sales performance. And so, ethical selling might involve more in-depth conversations, but these interactions can lead to better alignment with customers. We understand their needs better. We can work out the stuff that they're trying to deal with. So we can address their concerns and we can make sure that our solutions are absolutely the things which are going to deliver the outcomes that they're looking for. Now, it really is that question of quality over quantity. We will be more successful if we spend the time and effort working alongside our customers. Collaborative selling at its finest. So, the third one we talked about was resistance to change. And then, yeah, look, sales can be challenging, but it doesn't mean we have to overhaul the entire sales process. I suspect that a lot of people are already doing a lot of good stuff. Yeah, they are selling ethically. There are things which are working. So if all we're doing is kind of tweaking mindset, if we're bringing in new techniques, if we're just keeping raising the level, all we're doing is making this a smoother transition to end up in a way of selling that's far more effective. So really, as much as anything, we're enhancing rather than trying to replace a way of working. We talked about pressure to meet targets, and ethical selling doesn't contradict us hitting our targets. It's absolutely about us hitting them, but it's about how we go about hitting targets. And this is through building trust, focusing on customer needs, and making sure that we've got these more secure, longer term relationships where repeat business is going to contribute to our ultimate revenue goals. So in many ways, it's going to help us hit targets rather than hinder. We talk about people lacking a kind of understanding of what ethical selling might be about. And then, yeah, look, it could be new to some people. It could be a term that hasn't been used, that hasn't been used enough. Um, so just by sharing, by helping people think about what it is, giving examples, pointing out the stuff we're doing that is already ethical, then again, we can build a competitive advantage. We're looking at that customer satisfaction over a longer period of time. And that's what good selling is all about. So already there's probably things going on that we can use to indicate this is what it is and this is why it works. It's number six. Number six was about concerns about profitability. And again, ethical selling doesn't compromise that. We are building relationships with customers. We're building a relationship with customers based on trust. So because customers will recognize that this is how we work with them, maybe they're going to be more likely to want to invest with us. They know that we understand what they're trying to do. We get them. We're on their side. We're helping them achieve their outcomes. So this might make it easier to sell to them in some ways. Plus, the opportunity for them to refer, to introduce us to other people is also going to be higher because they're confident in the way in which we're going to act with the people that they're going to pass us on to. Again, we've got this discussion with number seven about the misinterpretation or misperception of what ethical selling is all about, that we're going to be less persuasive, that we're going to be less assertive. And that's just not true. It's just plain false because they are sales skills. You know, ultimately, we're going to be trying to understand customer needs so we can address them effectively. Customers need to be heard, need to be valued. But sometimes we do need to have a robust conversation with them. Take challenge yourself, for example. Yeah, we're not rattling the cage for the sake of it, but we do need to have strong conversations with the customer's best interest at heart. So those skills that we've got, in the way we're assertive, how we're being persuasive, absolutely will come into play when we're working in an ethical manner. Number eight was about the prior negative experiences. And yeah, look, I suppose if something hasn't worked for somebody, it is going to cut their perceptions. But remember that ethical selling it's about continuous improvement. It's about committing to working in a way over a longer period of time. And so, yeah, if something hasn't worked before, we can learn from that. We can look at why it didn't quite land. What was it that we did, or what was it that affected performance? And then use that to inform how we can do better going ahead. So, yeah, it's all about continuous improvement, helps us to achieve better results. So the industry norms one, which was about this isn't how we do stuff around here. We might lose our competitive edge. And we might be perceived as being weak. Well, what if we actually used it to stand out? Was it by doing something different? This was the way in which we could be successful. We see a lot in sales at the moment that it's a sea of sameness. Everybody's saying the same stuff. So to be doing something different by having a different approach, something that's going to catch the customer's eye, that's going to get their attention as a way of getting us in front of them and working with them, maybe that's actually going to be the benefit of working in this way. We don't need to be using the same way everybody else is working in our industry. And so then this idea of perceived complexity, that ethical selling, collaborative selling even might seem complex at first. Again, I would say that this is about integrating new skills. That if we're selling and we've got some degree of success, we must be doing something right. And it's unlikely that we're being successful if we're using a whole kind of scammy, salesy, old-fashioned rubbishy techniques. So there's a ton of stuff that's going on already that's good. Recognize this and firm up on those. Do more of it. But also be thinking about what other things can we bring to the party? Ways in which we can understand what motivates customers. How can we build trust? What can we do to deliver on the outcomes that they're looking for? Understand the outcomes they're looking for, and then deliver those for them. So moving along with the evolution of sales to make sure what we're doing is bang up to date. That's what ethical selling is representing. It's not something that is completely different, an obtuse concept that's got nothing to do with success now. And then again, some of the best practice that we are still bringing into how we sell today from the past, because there's still some excellent ways of working. It's not about doing that. It's about making sure that we're being highly focused and very deliberate in doing those things that are going to make a difference today, because they're going to land better with customers. Lands better with customers, it's going to be better for our company. And if it's better for our company and we're doing things in the right way, it's going to be better for us. It's better for our conscience. That's the win-win-win that I mentioned right at the start. And that is something that ethical selling is all about. That's why I sat down and tried to capture these and put these into the book to give people easy access to them, to make this deliberate application, a very conscious way of working, far easier. So that's where there's more information at. I really hope that you join me on this journey to make ethical selling more of the norm in what we see today. If you have any questions, please reach out. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Send me any message, any question that you've got based on hearing this, reading the book, or anything to do with ethical selling. I'm here to promote this. I want you to be successful in the way that you apply as well. Thank you for listening to the Sales Today podcast with me, your host, Fred Copestake. I hope you've enjoyed what you heard today. If you did, please get in touch and hit subscribe. And remember, you can take the Collaborative Selling Scorecard for free to check out how your sales approach works in today's environment. You'll find it in the show notes.